Always, I'm opening up an old drawing and I'm going to save it as a new drawing. Click Save As, change the name, 7BB, save it, and then delete whatever I got. There it is. Okay, what snaps have I got on here? My grid, and yeah, that'll work, grid snap. And I'll be going back and forth between that and my object snap, which is the F3 button. And the grid snap is the F9 button, so I can go back and forth between those two, just hitting those function buttons. Start off with a rectangle here. Guess this approximate height. I'm going to say it's about 3 squares tall. And about 8 wide. So that should do it. Drop it down just 1. There we go. All right. And I'm going to make a line. L, enter. There to there. That's its base. Then I'm going to make that center section. Use the rectangle tool for that. About something about like that. You know, it might be a little closer, and I'll go in a couple squares on both sides there. Okay. So that is it for the front view, minus any sorts of curves and holes. But that is it for our straight object lines. So now I'm going to move forward with the arcs and holes. I'm going to do that center arc right now. And I know that the center is in the middle of this square. And if you're snapped on and you happen to be snapped evenly, that works. But you can also turn on your object snap and grab the midpoint of this line, which is what I'm doing right now. So I grab the midpoint so I'm for sure in its center. And that's a good thing to do. So I use the object snap and I grab the midpoint. And now I'm dragging out to one of the squares, and I think that's the one I'm going to go with right there. So that is leaving a single square width in between. And now I'm going to trim that stuff out. So TR, enter, and just trim those away like that. All right, so I'll do that all over again for you. Just real quick review here. Again, I turned off my grid snap and turned on my object snap. So it was F9 off, F3 on. Went to my circle, got the midpoint of this line, and then I wanted to bring it out back onto the grid. So I turned F9 back on, and I was able to click on the grid right there. That guy, leaving 1 square width on both sides. And then I trimmed it away. So TR, enter, and just slid across there. Got rid of those pieces. So that takes care of the arc. On the inside, I have 2 more arcs to do on each corner, and then some holes. I am going to assume that the holes on the ends here are on center with these radiused corners. So that is an important little piece for us. And what that means is I'm going to draw the center lines of those holes first, which is a really good habit to get into. So I'm going to go to my hole construction layer, type XL, enter, and choose where they're going to be. And I think that's pretty good right there. And I'm going to make a vertical construction line and a horizontal one, and do the same over here. XL, enter, grab that point there. There we go. So those are the center lines for my holes. And I think I'll do it, since I'm already doing this anyway, I'll do the one right here just to point out that that is the center line of this larger arc, because that I want on this whole construction layer. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to my object layer and make these two holes and then make those two arcs. So the holes C enter, I think are going to be something about like this. Enter to get out, enter to get back in, click on that point and then hit enter again and you'll get the same size circle. Enter to get back into that, and this one I'm going to drag out until it clicks on the edge. So it's going to click tangent to these edges. Enter to get back into that mode and do the same on this side. And then I'm just going to trim this away, trim away what I don't want. So TR, enter, trim that off. Same on this side. Same here and here and here and here. And then I can just delete these little bits left behind. And there you go. That's how that's done. So one more time, I'm going to back up. And where I placed these holes was just random. But what was important was that it was an equal distance from both edges. That's critical. I could have placed it over here or over here or over here, anywhere on, basically on the diagonal coming out of that corner. Anywhere on that. For example, I could have put it right there. That would have worked, as long as it's the same distance away from each edge, as you can see. And that's what I would have got had I done it that way. But I like where I had it over here, so I'm going to put it back. There we go. And I'll do those circles for you. Click on the center and then bring it out to the edge. Do it again over here. Trim away what you don't want. There you go. So that is it for the front view, except for the hidden lines and center lines. We'll do that last. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so that I can do my top view. I'm also going to place some more construction lines. So on my regular construction line layer, XL, enter, V, enter, and I'll grab these important points. There we go. These two I'm actually going to move to the hole layer. I think that's more appropriate. There we go. Okay, I believe that is all of the vertical construction lines for now. In fact, I'm going to turn off the hole ones, and that's all we need. Turning those off, and go to my object layer, rectangle. So that's the overall base. The part in the middle. Comes from here and doesn't go all the way across. Stops just shy of it. We'll see right there. And we're getting pretty close to the end of our regular object lines. So now there are the hole and arc issues. So I'm going to turn those on. So I'm going to go to my hole construction layer and turn those on. There we go, adding a little more complexity. And you can see that this big arc here is inside. There is its center line, and here are its edges. In the top view, its edges are visible. So those are going to be object lines. There to there. And this would be trimmed out as well as that. Now I have the holes to make, and they are on center with these. So this center line that's for these holes right here is also the center line for the holes that are going to go here. So I'll make those next. And I'm going to go to my circle and choose this place here. Yeah, it's a little too big. Trying to make them the same as these. I think, is that right? Yeah, I think those were that big. Okay. So yeah, I made those holes identical. That'll make things a little easier. And as far as object lines, the top view is now complete. We'll come back and finish that up with the center lines and hidden lines. So we're going to move on to the right side view now. I'm going to make my transfer line, XL, enter, A, enter, 45, enter. Put that right here. And then go to my construction line layer and start bringing these lines across. Okay. And then trim this away, get rid of that part. And then I'll bring my vertical construction lines down. Get rid of those. X, L, enter, V, enter. Being sure to use object snap and not grid snap. I'm taking advantage of object snap's ability to snap to these endpoints or intersections there. There we are. And I'm going to trim those away too. TR, enter, and then another T, enter, select this cutting edge, and then drag it across there. Okay. Kind of in the mood to clean this up. I think I'm just going to get rid of all of these lines right now. There they are. Okay. And then with my object layer, take care of this right side view. Get in the right layer. Okay, that is it for the object lines. And now we're going to do the center lines and hidden lines. I think I'll start off with my center line layer. And I'll make the center lines of all these holes. I'm going to use my grid snap for this, F9, and turn my object snap off, F3 off. I think I'm going to take this opportunity to talk about copy. So I know I have not talked about the copy command, but this might be a good time to introduce it, and I'll mention it many times in the future. Copy is this button right up here in the modify menu, and we really haven't talked about any of the modify commands yet. But copy is a real good one. And it's CO if you want to use the keystroke. Of course, it's not C because C is circle. But if you hit CO or click on that button, it says select the objects. And I'm just going to click that line and that line right there, those two center lines. And I'm done selecting, so I hit enter. And then it says specify base point. And I'm going to grab the middle because I want to grab it and hold it by the middle. And then it says specify where you want it. And I'm going to click right over there and right up there and right up there. And when you're done, you can hit escape or enter. And that's it. That's how you do it. CO enter or that. You can mess around with that copy command anytime you want, but it's pretty useful. All right, so those are the center lines of the holes as we see them head on. Now we need to do the center lines for this arc. We need to do the center lines for these arcs. We need to do the center lines for the holes that are being seen from the side. So there's quite a few center lines remaining. Let's finish up what we started over here. So we have the center lines for the holes, but remember, if the arc shares the same center point as a hole, you need to indicate that by running the center line out beyond that arc. So doing that lets everybody know, hey, these center lines are showing the center point of this circle and of this arc, and they are the same point. That's an important concept to grasp there, so you definitely need to do that. And we need to do that with this one over here as well. So I'm going to click on that and just drag it out to the same place, and click on this one and drag it out to the same place. There it is. All right, so that is looking good. I think I'll do the center line for the arc next. So that is going to go from here to here, and from here to here. Now, ideally, this center line would not make contact, perfect contact like this. We would show some space. So I'm going to grab its endpoint and drag it in one square. Otherwise, it becomes confusing and it looks as though it's part of the object line. So that is something you don't want to have. You want to have a decent gap here. And that right there should work. If you were not comfortable with that, you could even make it shorter. But you definitely don't want people confusing this center line with the object line. You want them to see that there is a space here. Okay, so that is really all the head-on center lines. So all the center lines that we have remaining are those for objects kind of in their hidden view. So, or side view, including that same arc. So we'll just run a center line across it. There we go. So that is showing its center in the top view or its side view. And we'll do the same for these. Interestingly, these holes that are above here, this center line can just be dragged out. So I'm just going to click on that and drag it along because it's the same line. The holes in this top view and in the side view here share the exact same center. And so they would actually touch. So rather than having them touch, we'll just pull them out. And that's going to be the same for the ones in the side view here. So I can grab that center line and drag it out. And the same with this one. Drag it out. So now I've got the center lines done in both the front and top view. I do need to do them in the side view, however. So this one is going to go like this. That's for the holes that are on the bottom portion. And this is for the holes that are on the top portion. And then, of course, the center of the arc, its center line of that big arc is like this right here. That center line is going to overlap with the object line and not appear to be anything. It's really not, I wouldn't put it in this view because it just doesn't make any sense. It's just confusing. It kind of just looks like some lines are sticking out beyond the edge. So I'm going to remove that. It's really not helping the drawing at all. And that's it for our center lines. So I'm moving on to the hidden line layer. L, enter. And, you know, I'm going to turn our regular construction layer off. I should have done that earlier so I can just see my whole construction line layer. And I'm going to place the edges of the holes. So I'm going to go, before I do any more the hidden lines, let me draw the construction lines needed for those. XL, enter, bring that across. There we go. And then bounce these down. You want to trim this stuff off. All right. So now I have almost all of them. There's a lot of them. Forgot a couple over here. There we go. That should do it. Okay. And go back to my hidden line layer and put all these hidden lines in. There's going to be quite a few of them. One more, the bottom of this arc. is visible in this view on the side as a hidden line. And that is going to be right here, from here to here. Oh, that's interesting. It overlaps that other one. I'll just remove that. So they are, by coincidence, the bottom of this hole here and the bottom of this arc are aligned. So that's why that line, those two lines overlap right here. Okay, turn off my construction line so you can see that in its finished state. Looking pretty good. And let's wrap this thing up completely. Turn all the construction lines on. Remove, clean up the edges here. Get everything out of there. Whoa. Okay. And then go to my object layer and make this frame. Corner to corner with the text window. Type your name, all caps. Select it, Control A. Justification, middle center. And the size, I'm going to type 0.8, enter, and give it a check mark. And there we go.